lose it.
Recording in progress.
It talks to us now. Okay, I'm gonna let Dana in and I'm gonna go back and share that. Okay. Sorry about that. All right, so if you don't want to appear on the video, you could turn your camera off now. And just to be advised that for the grant, for the Cummings grant, we are asked to do surveys. So you may receive a survey in your email, and we really would love it if you would fill that out for us. So in July, we have Summer Backyard Birds with Neill Hayward. He's very well informed and will share the songs of the birds so that you can learn the bird calls, and he will, teach us about what's going on in our backyards. He is amazing. So please tune in for that. We have Decorating with Color, and that's with Stacy Martin. She is our interior decorator. She's been teaching once a month with us for, well, close to a year now. She's very, very good. Composer's Corner with host Andrew Celentano, as you know, my wonderful husband, and guest Paul Hartung, and that's going to be on July 13th. We have Beatles Sing Along with Diane Torres. Diane has the most amazing voice, just absolutely gorgeous. So join us for that. That's July 17th. We have the Cape Cod Journals of Henry David Thoreau, presented by historian Richard Smith. He is an expert on Henry David Thoreau. He works for the Thoreau Society, does a lot of presentations for them. And then we have Car Racing with Jim Shaw on July 27th. He's going to share. And I was on a preview with him, and going around in the car, you're in the car with him going 150 miles an hour. It is quite an experience. So you might want to come to that. Very cool. So thank you to the Cummings Foundation for giving us the last 3 years of programming. We have just received a 10-year grant for $350,000. So we are moving forward with our programming, and we are so thankful. Yes, woohoo! Absolutely amazing. And that brings us to this evening. So we have our Dancers Dialogue, which is one of my favorite programs. And that is with our guest, Deborah Boyle, and our host, of course, Pamela Wise. And I'm actually looking at my little write-up because my other computer turned off. Okay. So hold on one moment. I want to make sure that we do a really nice intro. So we have our artistic director, and she is with the Ballet Arts Center of Winchester. So she is local, and that's Deborah Boyle. She has studied with many of the Greater Boston finest teachers from the Boston Conservatory of Music, the Boston Repertory Ballet, the Ballet Theatre of Boston, and the Bay State Ballet Theatre School, and Jeannette Neill Dance Studio. And she is a former member of the Merrimack Valley Ballet Company and Bay State Ballet Theatre Company. And she's danced many roles. So I'm going to turn this over so they can have their interview. And we're also going to have some dancers presented as well. So I'm going to stop sharing, and thank you so much for being here this evening. It's so exciting.
Thank you. Thank you, Hillary. Thank you, Pam.
You're welcome. So this is a very exciting time, particularly for me, because it's all about the ballet, which is my heartbeat. So I'm thrilled to be here, and I'm thrilled to be having this conversation with you, and hopefully our audience will enjoy it just as much as I do. Let's just kind of quickly give them a little small background. I'm assuming that just like most people, they start, you in particular, you started taking your ballet classes as a young child, possibly?
I did. I think I did what most young girls in particular do, and start taking classes at local dance schools.
Right. And did you study straight through high school before you went off to college, or did you give it up at a certain point? Because some students give it up about 15 years old when they become more social. So
I was one of those kids.
okay, okay.
Oh, I didn't dance very much in high school.
Mhm.
It really wasn't until I got into college that I sort of was exposed to it again and picked it up again. And that's when I feel like the real journey for me began. And I think the biggest thing for me at that point was that I met the woman who became my mentor. And while I was in college, that's Miss Shirley Terrell, who I studied with for many years and who actually gave me my start as a teacher.
Oh, no kidding. So she really was the influence for you to do that. But when you went to college, well, let me kind of digress for 1 second. Did she teach you a particular style of ballet, or because sometimes here in the United States, we become what I call mongrels, meaning that there are different styles of ballet, which we can talk about, a little bit later. So was there a particular style that
so Shirley was a woman who was trained mostly in New York, and she was lucky enough to train with some of the old big names. Madame Danilova, if you know who she is, from Ballet Russe, was one of her teachers, as was Ted Shawn, who I think you mentioned. You had some communications and studies with him. So she mostly taught Cicchetti, and Cicchetti is the Italian school of ballet. There are 3 schools of ballet. I tell my kids when we talk about them to think of salad dressings: French, Russian, and Italian. And she taught Cicchetti. So that's what I learned from her. And then since then, I've actually learned several other styles as well. So,
and Cicchetti is, for our viewers, as Debbie just said, it's the Italian style. And believe it or not, if we go into the history of it, do you want to give a quick little synopsis of that? Or people think it's all French because it's spoken in French, right? But it didn't really start in France. It was King Louis XIV that brought it into the courts because he loved dancing, and he hired and brought over all the famous and the prodigies from Italy. And so it's really Italian first.
Right. I believe it originated in Italy, and it was Catherine de Medici who married Henry II.
Correct.
Who was the King of France. She was Italian, he was French, and she brought it over to France. And sort of ballet's origins are in the courts, in the noble courts, and so she carried it on. But it really was Louis XIV who did everything in an extremely opulent way, and dance was one of those things. And he made ballet. He began presenting shows, and a lot of it was theater, but the origins in France come from him.
Right.
Yeah.
So since we've just talked a little bit about the history of it, and we've sort of introduced you, or a little bit of your own history, how about if we take a quick peek at a few of your students who are in the classroom? Is that
Sure.
okay?
So these are a handful of our immersion company students. We have 3 groups of students who are the kids that come here and are studying at what we consider to be a pre-professional level. So they're dancing probably on average 5 days a week, sometimes more if we're in performance mode. There's 3 groups, so we have a mixture here of some of our younger students with some of our older students. And I believe what they're going to show you to start is a plie combination. So for anyone who doesn't take ballet, there is a format to a ballet class, and the exercises are done in a particular order for the reasons of getting the body into the shape that it needs to be. Plies are your warm-up. So typically it's the first or second thing that you do in a ballet class. So I'm going to just go let them know that we're ready. Then I'll click over and they'll give you an example of a plie combination.
Perfect. And just for the audience also, the ballet class is spoken in French, and many teachers will translate it because plie means to bend.
Okay, I think they're all set.
Going to show you. Okay. Unmute. Stop it.
Lovely. Thank you so much. That's a beautiful room. It's well lit.
It is. Yeah, we're very fortunate. We have a large space. This is an old mill building that we're in. So it really lends itself very well. We have 4 studios here. That's probably our biggest room. But all of them are really nicely lit with, hardwood floors. And it's been a great space for what we do.
I can see why, yeah. And so let's just talk a little bit. Actually, I'm going to digress for one more second. When you were telling your students and checking in on them, I was talking about the translating of plie, because where it is spoken in French and not everybody speaks French. And I'm guessing that you and your faculty do the same thing. You translate it as you go along, right?
We do. And actually, one of the levels that I don't teach all of the levels like I used to, but one of the levels that I still do teach is my level 3 class. That's my 10-year-olds. And what we do in that level every year is that we get notebooks. We make a ballet notebook, and I am a stickler for them learning the correct terminology. I've met dancers over my life who are phenomenal dancers and did not have a real clear understanding of the terminology, which I think is so important. So yes, we really do. I think it's an important part of what they learn.
I totally agree with you, because I used to teach at a college, and the spelling of it, you used to have to give spelling tests and stuff like that. So yeah. It's great. Now, also, I noticed that 3 of your students were in one color and 3 were not. Do you have them in a color code according to their level? Is that what you tend to do?
We do. So, the school Ballet Arts Center, I think, is known for being a fairly traditional and structured school. We do everything. We don't just do ballet, but I have always believed that it should be taught the way that it was intended to be. So yes, we do. From our little ones up, they don't change their dress code every year, but different levels are in different colors. So for our companies, each one of them has a specific leotard that they are given, which makes performance, doing something like this, much easier, because they know exactly what they need to have, and it's what.
Sorry, that's my daughter calling. Okay, sorry. She lives in Shanghai, so.
Oh my goodness.
She usually calls on Fridays.
I usually do that in the middle of the class. My phone going on.
Anyway, Hi. He's going to take my phone. Yeah, okay. Thank you, everybody. Now you know something personal about myself. So you had mentioned, though, that your students take other formats of dance besides the ballet. Is this something that you have required? Because you mentioned in the very beginning that you have 2 different levels. Do you want to talk about that a little bit more? That's a double question, I know, but.
Sure. Yeah. Well, we have in the school, most of the kids that come begin when they're young, and there's a progression right up through the levels. So they can come, they can be with their friends, they take our preschool classes, and then at the age of 8, they can go into our graded syllabus classes, and that goes all the way up through level 4. That means they're probably around 12 by the time that they get out of level 4. When they do that, there's a split in the school. Mm-hmm. So we have what we call our intermediate levels, and we have what we call our teen program or our recreational levels, which works out really well for the students that do sports, do theater, have other things that they love to do, but they've always come here and danced, or kids that are a little bit older that want to begin to dance. So it's a really wonderful component of the school. The intermediate levels are where they now begin point work. There are requirements for the number of classes that they're taking every week. And we encourage, there are certain prerequisites. So we have a very large modern program here, and you have to be in the upper levels and the intermediate levels in order to do that, because it requires a certain amount of technique, and the ballet classes are what give you your technique. Right. So we have the 2 components to the school, and I'll be honest with you, I feel like it's one of the great things that this school offers. There's something here for everybody. We have kids that train at a pre-professional level and get into really wonderful dance programs in college. We have a few that have gone on to dance professionally, but that's a very small number. But for the kids that want to come and just love to dance, we have a lot of options here.
Right. I really, in particular, appreciate the fact that you have, once they've gotten into the higher level, them study modern dance, because don't you think that that's sort of where ballet is going? It used to be when I grew up in your South as well. We just studied ballet and it was always about the ballet company and that was it. But today we need to branch out and there's more contemporary type ballet companies. I mean, even New York City Ballet, Boston Ballet.
Everyone is you
doing
in
that.
this world now.
Yes.
You need to know how to be a contemporary dancer. So years ago, it's interesting because years ago, you know, we always encourage ballet. So at the younger levels, they can come here and not take ballet. They can just do tap or jazz or whatever, but we encourage it and they won't be able to do everything as they get older unless they're taking the ballet. But jazz was what everyone wanted to do. Every kid here used to want to do jazz. And now even jazz and tap have started to take a little bit of a background to modern and contemporary dance. And as a professional dancer, you know, you cannot, you know, yes, the classical training is going to give you, again, the technique that you need for everything, but you've got to be able to do it all. And you're right. New York City Ballet, Boston Ballet, they're all becoming much more contemporary in what they present and what they train with. So it's interesting.
Do your students have to audition some, let me rephrase this. I'm assuming that when you're starting in your school, that will say this student comes at 8 years old and decides that this is the professional track that he or she wants to go on, that child is evaluated along the way. So there's no audition, but say somebody came in at 14 and wanted to do that, have a particular syllabus they need to learn beforehand, or how do you go about that?
Well, that's always tricky for a student that comes in that's a little bit older. If they've come with some training, then we just simply have them try out different levels of classes here. And we can tell pretty quickly where they're going to fit in, you know, what they need and what's going to be best. But for the younger kids, no, the younger kids, it's, you know, it's about trying to give them, you know, certainly the best dance training that we can, but they've got to have fun. And, you know, it has to be fun. And we work really hard at trying to do both.
Yeah. So before I now hit upon your faculty and whatnot, can we take another look at your students?
Sure. Let me go tell them again that we're clicking in.
Okay. And I want the audience to know I have no idea what they're doing. So it's a big treat for me as much as it is a big treat for you as well. So there we go. And they look great, as you can already see.
Could you hear the music when we were playing before?
Very soft. It'd be great.
Okay, I'll see if I can make that work a little bit better this time.
Great. Thank you.
Okay.
Lovely, thank you. Just for the audience, they did a fondue to a tendu to a rond de jambe, un des hors, un des dans. See, it's all French. Do you want to translate that quickly? Just tell them what it means. I'll put you on the spot. It's just so much fun.
It is. Rond de jambe means round of the leg.
Mhm.
And it's a great exercise for rotation and extension. En dehors and en dedans means outside and inside. So yeah, it's all very technical. It's very mathematical. Ballet is a very mathematical, almost scientific art.
Yeah.
In a lot of
So,
ways.
Deborah, how'd you find your space? Because I've driven by it, and I know you have said this is just one of 4. So how did you find the space?
So that's actually an interesting story. So I actually started the school in 1990. I opened up right up the street from here at the VFW hall. And I went in and I rented the space, and it was so long ago, it was 32 years ago, that I used to carry my record player, and my husband built me portable mirrors made of Mylar. And I
Right.
would roll out the mirrors and set up the record player. And actually, our inside story, there was a bar downstairs because it's the VFW. So we named it the Ballet Bar and Grill. So that's where I started. And then the school opened up with almost 100 students, which is quite amazing.
Yeah.
And we stayed there for a year. And then we went over to across from the White Hen Pantry, the building, the brick building on the 2nd floor. And I was there for 3 years. And I think around year number 2, Brian Malaskis, who is the director of Kidstock, who was just starting out at the time as well, moved into the space. And both schools we're separate schools, but we're quite affiliated. And we stayed there for 3 years, and then we just both grew and started looking. And so this is another interesting thing. I worked in this building when I was in college. It was a paper box factory. It's been many different things, but it was a wide open mill with huge machines that made paper boxes. And I worked here for a whole summer. So who would have known that in the future I would end up here every day of my life? And we slowly so we've been in the building for about 28 years. It's like I said, it's a great space for what we do. It's got high ceilings, it's got beautiful light, it's got nice floors. It has given us lots of room to grow and do what we do. And we've also carved it out over the years. So things have, we didn't start with 4 studios. We started with, only 2, and things have grown. But yeah, it's really quite an amazing place. And I'm sure that many people, if you're from Winchester, are probably cursing as you drive down Cross Street because the traffic here with all of the other, it's actually filled up recently with the Russian math school is here. There's a music school here. There's preschool here. So the traffic situation on Cross Street is not what it used to be.
And so, I'm sorry, did I interrupt you?
No.
Okay, so it's called the Next Door Theater, or the Theater Next Door.
Next Door Theater, yeah.
So do they do musicals at all? And do your dancers ever, do you sort of go back and forth?
Oh yeah, so Brian, who owns Kidstock, and that's a space that also had, I think, Cabinet Factory or something, and it became vacant about 10 years ago. And we actually collaborated, and we collaborated on the build out of the theater. So Kidstock technically runs it, but Ballet Arts Center was part of the nonprofit, which is just recently closed down. So we formed a nonprofit, and for quite a few years, there was really some wonderful theater that went on over there. Lots of community events have taken place in there, and there's the Art and Bloom that happens there every year. There's a lot of different things. It seats 135 people, and it has a stage that is pretty big, probably about 30 by 30 feet. So we use it for our small performances, and yeah, it's been a wonderful asset. Now it's mostly Kidstock running their programs out of it.
That's really, I mean, it was pretty ingenious to have two different arts come together, right? Which is
Yeah,
really
it
should be.
happened by accident, but it's been a
Yeah.
great journey. It really has. Yeah.
So when you're doing performances, do you choreograph, or is it your faculty that choreographs? Is it a production that you get down with your faculty, or how do you go about this?
Well, that's a good question. The main performance for the entire school is like most schools. We do a recital. We call it our spring performance in usually in early May. And we have to plan for that now in July. We have to start, making plans for what that's going to be. I think we've come to be known for doing some quite spectacular productions. Usually our recitals consist of a short ballet. So the first half is a condensed version of, we've done everything. Over 32 years, we've done everything there is to do. And so all of the ballet students and the younger, the little children are involved in that. And then the second half of the show is more of the contemporary stuff. So we get together, we decide what the theme will be, we decide who's going to be doing what. Teachers come to me with music. I have I have been very blessed over the years to have a faculty here that is really, I don't think there's anyone around here who can say they've got the teachers that I've got. So I trust what they do. Certainly we go in and tweak along the way, but every one of them is so capable and so talented that, we work as a team and it all comes together.
And how do you find your faculty? Because I actually have looked at your website, of course, otherwise I wouldn't be able to do this. And they all have great resumes. How do you go about finding them?
Yeah, well, I think I told, I think I mentioned to you earlier that most of my teachers have been with me for a very, very long time. In fact, I will hopefully introduce her before we finish. The teacher who's working with the girls in the other room right now, Lorraine Chapman, has been with me for about 25 years, I would say. I have other teachers that are not far behind her. And I do have some young new teachers. A couple of them actually are former students who grew up here and who pursued dance in some way in college, and they've come back to teach. So that's really been a wonderful bonus, for me and for the other teachers here. Finding teachers is not as easy as it used to be. People are very busy. So a lot of it is networking. And if we can't find a teacher that way, then it's like most other things, we go to social media and we post on, on dancers' blogs, that kind of thing. So.
And because you have, I think at least 6 different teachers there, and they're not always teaching all the same things, but do you have a syllabus, or do you meet once a month, or?
Yeah, that's actually another big part of what takes so much time. At one time I taught everything here, and then as time went on, I taught more of the younger levels. I've put together from all of the, I've done a lot of workshops and teachers seminars is really where I've put most of my time and energy into in the last 25 years. So taking from all of that, I've put a syllabus together for our preschool up through about level 4. We work together on the ballet syllabus here. So for the younger classes, I would say, it doesn't matter what teacher you get here, your child is going to have a very similar class and learn very similar things. As they get older, the teachers begin to bring more of their own style into it, but we all know what the goals are. And when we were talking before about the different schools of ballet, we all tend to be a bit more Vaganova, which is the Russian school. Some teachers are more trained in it, others not so much, but we have lots and lots of meetings about, how we need to teach things so that there's consistency. You've got to have consistency.
Right, and that way too, when they go up in levels, you don't have to worry. It's just like
Exactly.
regular school in a sense, right?
Yeah.
And do you feel like talking a little bit about the difference between training, I'm going to call them men and women, because there is a difference in hand gestures or strengthening process.
Yeah.
We were saying a little, we don't need a full class in it, but maybe a couple of minutes before we take a look at your class again.
Sure. Well, and again, we have had some males over the years. It makes me very, what's the word? It's still, I still find it interesting that there's a stigma attached to boys coming to dance.
Mhm.
And a lot of times when we get a young boy who comes here and just really loves to dance, as they get older, it becomes harder for them. We've had a few, and in fact, one of our students who came when he was 5 years old actually grew up to be a professional dancer, which is rare for some of the girls. So to have, your one boy do that was great. I think classes are the same, more or less. The male is the support for the female dancer. So they have to be strong. They have to do things bigger. So when you're doing a grand allegro, when you're doing work across the floor, everyone is working to get up high. Everyone is working to do things big, but men have to do it even bigger. I think gestures are a little less curved, a little straighter. But typically, men are training in the same place that women are training. I think too, with schools that train men or train male dancers, at some point they do offer a men's class specifically for them, just to hone in on the skills that men need to have.
Right. So since we're talking about training, should we take another look and see what's going on?
Sure. Yeah. Let me go give them a little warning again.
I think they're probably very excited to be dancing in front of an audience that is done through Zoom. Pretty amazing.
Okay, here we go. Okay.
Mm. Yep, nice stretching. Beautiful.
Thank you.
Oh, just a quick one. So what levels are we looking at? Because I know the dark and then the light, just for curiosity.
Well, there's 3 girls from they're all our immersion groups. We have the immersion junior group. So the 3 girls in the light blue are from that company.
Okay.
And I believe one of them is from our apprentice immersion company. And then the other 2 girls are from our older company, which is the immersion company.
Oh,
So
okay.
they would range from, I think they're 11 to maybe 14, and then 14, 15, and then some of the girls in the older company are seniors as well.
Now, you had mentioned that some of them go on and they audition for, well, you didn't mention this part, summer programs.
They do, yeah.
Do you, and also for colleges and as dance majors, and also for companies or whatever, is there a different way that you approach them as to how to remain calm and not to accept whatever comes about, or whoever's standing next to them at the bar that might hold their leg way up here, but and then when they come center, they might be a total flop? I mean, do you give them advice? What is it that you do?
Well, I mean, for the company kids, I think that's part of the pre-professional program, is to, you know, give them the experience and the understanding of what kind of competition there is out there. So we do, one of the ways that our kids do get to audition here is that we do a Nutcracker every other year, which is always in the past been a very big production. We have a lot of professionals that are part of it. So it's a school production, but I like to think of it as more than that, because we are fortunate enough to bring in some really beautiful professional dancers, you know, to do Sugar Plum, to do some of the lead roles, which is great for the kids because it gives them an opportunity to actually be in a performance with people that they can see firsthand, who are really doing what it is that they come and try to learn how to do all the time. So we do auditions for that all the way down to age 6. And that's a great experience. And it is hard. I think part of what's hard for all children nowadays is, you know, the learning how to deal with the disappointment of maybe not getting a part, although most of our kids get parts. However, they don't always get the part they want, you know. Right. So, you know, it's important. They've got to learn how to, you know, that no matter what they're doing, they need to learn to do their best and to, you know, just compete with themselves. Miss Shirley Terrell, one of her big sayings to me that I say to the kids is, you are only in competition with yourself. And that's what we try to teach them, is that, yes, you can look at the girl next to you and, you know, if her leg's a little bit higher, then sure, you want to get your leg just as high, but it needs to be done in a way that you're not beating yourself up over it and you're not holding it against anyone else as well.
That's sound advice, and that's why she was your mentor.
Yeah, right? That's right.
And then I also read that you do, for instance, you're going to be doing a summer program this year, and you're having guest teachers come in, correct? And this will give them the opportunity to study with different teachers. Yeah. Don't know them, which is really important too.
Yeah, it's wonderful. It's a great way for them to try different. So what we do is we try to bring in teachers who do types of dancing that they don't ever do. You know, so we bring in, I think this year we've got a step dancer, you know, we've had African dance in the past, we've had Spanish dance, you know, all kinds of ethnic, different character dance, that kind of thing. We typically don't have a hip hop program here. We offer hip hop in sessions throughout the year, but the kids here don't do a lot of that. So we bring in hip hop people for them. Lots of different, people come in. And a lot of times what's interesting is that the kids will say that they're hearing the exact same things being said to them that they hear from their teachers day after day. It's just a different teacher saying it in a different way. And sometimes that works. Sometimes, someone can get through when another teacher can't. So,
right.
Yeah.
Right. And you also have, just kind of connecting with what you said earlier, you also have a bit of a mentorship with the younger children and the older students, helping out the younger children. Is that still going on?
Well, maybe are you talking about our classroom assistant program, maybe? So for all of our preschool classes, we bring, we offer to the students here the ability to become a classroom assistant, usually around the age of 12, if they're old enough to do it. And most of the kids that opt into that, it means they're coming on an extra day and they're in a class with young children, helping the teacher out. Most of the kids that do that, once they start, end up doing it until they leave here. They love it. They become big role models for the kids that are in the class. So not only are they helping the teacher, and it is a huge help, with just simple things like taking them to the bathroom or tying their shoes in class when they have to change. But more than that, the kids get to, when kids come into a school, they're coming for their class. They don't often get to see what the big picture is. So they get to see this big dancer, this big girl. And I've had more parents come and say to me over the years, I cannot tell you how much she just looks up to, Miss Lisa in the class, so it's great. It's a great way for them to get their feet wet.
Right, and I'm guessing too that by being an assistant, it can further the education of the dancer who is the assistant, because not every dancer is a performer and not every dancer is a teacher, and not every teacher is not everybody's everything. So it's a great way for them to really see and tune into what it is to be a teacher should they decide to go in that direction.
Absolutely.
Moments, some people are a little bit shy about performing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, quick question. Actually, this is the most important question. COVID has hit, and it has really hit everybody tremendously, wise, artistic wise, and I do feel strongly that people tend to turn to the arts for comfort when things start to change. So hopefully things are changing for you. So moving forward, what are you thinking? What are your hopes are to accomplish?
Yeah, well, it's been a tough year for everybody. And we certainly, the arts, I think, took a real big hit in this one. So we had to pivot to virtual classes very quickly. We learned how to do that very quickly. And we opted, unlike a lot of other schools, we opted to stay virtual for most of last year. We've been back live for probably since about the end of February, when we phased the school back in. But because of that, the virtual component is just, with kids doing it all day long in school, it just wasn't something that a lot of parents felt that their child could stay with, which is understandable. So the school has suffered a loss in that. So we're, pulling up our bootstraps, and we're plugging on, and we've got more offerings over the summer than usual. We're going into the fall with plans to do some sort of Nutcracker. It may look a little bit different than what we typically do, but it will be a great performance experience regardless. And we're going to just, keep doing what we're doing. I was able to keep all of the teachers on faculty here for the year. And that was one of my goals. And it was a great boost for everybody to, be able to still be here. So they're all coming back, and we're moving forward.
I think that's great.
For the best.
Into the other room before we run out of time.
Sure, I'll have them do a little reverence for you. I think that's what they're going to do if we're finishing up. So a reverence is the way that dancers finish each class. It's a thank you to the teacher. It's a thank you. In the old days, when there were pianists in the class, they would gesture to the pianist as well. And it's also a tradition, which they won't do tonight, but it's always been a tradition in a ballet class that the students applaud at the end of the class for the teacher and for the people that have contributed to the class. So, and I would like to thank Lorraine Chapman, who is my lovely teacher that is working with them in the other room. She's a big part of what we do here. Can I just give a little shout out to my students? Just
Absolutely. And
Yes, thank
if
you.
possible, if Lorraine is comfortable after the Reverance, it'd be great if she came in and said hello to the audience.
Sure, that would be great. I'll ask her to do that. So our lovely dancers, and this is only a handful of our dancers because they've all gone off and a lot of them are at summer programs right now. Lizzie Lutheran, Annie Eggleston, Sydney Pfefferman, April Basson, Lily Sarami, and Emma Morrow were our lovely girls that came in tonight. And I'd also like to thank, the rest of my staff, my wonderful daughter, who grew up dancing here, is also our office manager and admin person and does, all the huge amount of work that's behind the scenes. So part of, what I always say is, this school is what it is, not just because of me, but because of the really wonderful people that I've been so blessed to have here. So let me go tell these wonderful students that we're going to do Reverence.
Okay. And also for the audience too, we're leaving some time deliberately so you can have a Q&A, so you can ask questions and we'll get Debbie to answer it for you. So feel free to.
Let me bring the computer in. Okay, I think we're ready to go.
Lovely.
Great.
Great. So we'd love to meet Lorraine, and then we have some Q&A questions for you.
Oh, okay. Let me go grab her.
Why don't you go grab her, and that will give some time for a few more questions. Hillary, I'm guessing we have a couple anyway, right?
I have to say, I love that Christina Aguilera.
Oh, right, because that was the Reverence, right?
I love that. That was great. We do.
Into
We-
song.
Beautiful. Okay. So far we have one question.
Great.
Hi.
Hi, Lorraine. It's so nice to meet you. I actually have heard of you for several years. I'm Pamela Wise, by the way.
Oh,
So,
hi. Yes, I've heard of you too.
it's nice. Oh, good. It's nice to put a face with a name. So I much appreciate it. It was beautiful. Your dancers are just really beautiful, and you should
Oh,
be.
they're lovely. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Did you enjoy doing this? Was it fun for them?
Yes, yeah, they did. They had a good time, and we told each other some fun stories in between.
Good.
Learned some fun facts about each other.
That's part of learning and developing a different rapport with your teacher. So I think that's great. So Hillary, I'm going to open it up to you. We're going to have hopefully some Q&As and either one of you are welcome to answer it. But
Oh, okay. So Debbie's going to come and sit down too.
Well, I did ask people to put it into the chat, but they could also, share and talk if they want to.
and this is
so-
Hillary, by the way, sorry to introduce you to Hillary.
So people want to know classes for adults.
Oh,
About-
yes.
Oh,
Yes,
good.
we didn't do any adult classes last year, but that is coming back. And we actually had a great following for our adult ballet class, which is sort of a level 1 low intermediate class. And we also had a tap class, and we had people asking for jazz. So we're working on all of that now, and absolutely please check back because we're going to keep our fingers crossed that we can do that again this year.
So you're looking for, you're looking for like a September? Is that?
Yeah, we don't start until the end of September, so we typically start adult classes maybe the first week in October.
Okay.
I just wanted to give a plug to any adults that want to study ballet, because that was one of my very most favorite classes to teach, because you're there because you want to be, not because your mother is telling you need to.
That's right.
And then you have to go home and practice or give up your time with your friends. So it's so physically challenging in a very healthy ways for mentally and physically. And then you can meet new people, and you can go out and have some tea or something after class.
Exactly.
Right?
That's right.
Yeah, adults are great. I'm just saying. Okay, another question. I didn't mean to answer the question for you.
Are there any more questions people want to ask?
You have a shy audience?
We do have a shy audience tonight. Yes.
Okay. Well, let's do a little more plug oh, wait a minute. I see one.
Yep. Okay, so how do you decide on the music and choreography? And I have to mention that I love that Christina Aguilera. That was that was great. Thank you for that. Yeah. So how do you decide?
Well, the music for ballet class, there's such beautiful music available now. So that's just music that we are able to buy. But for performances, as I said before, we decide what the theme is going to be, and then what each class is going to need to sort of do around that. And that's where, teachers come in and, they say, I'd like to do this, I'd like to do that. And then we either say yes or no, or let's, do this or that. Lorraine is actually as much of a teacher as she is. She's more well-known actually as a choreographer in the Boston area. She's quite well-known actually outside of the Boston area. She has her own company. She does a lot of modern and contemporary work and has some quite amazing dancers. So she is what I would describe as a, consummate choreographer. And, all teachers do choreograph. It's part of the job, but some people are a little bit more in tuned and passionate about it. And she's one of them.
Well, that's something I admire, Lorraine, because I am not a choreographer. I'm very good at teaching. I have no problem putting combinations together for classes and whatnot, and it's very methodical, but no. I can perform, not so much anymore. Teach, no problem. No, not a choreographer.
I don't know if I believe that, but because Miss Debbie says the same thing sometimes. And she's well, I have to really think about my choreography. And then she makes something beautiful.
Yeah. Well, if it's only 3 minutes, I can probably come up with 3 minutes, but
Yeah, right.
there's a big difference between 3 minutes and 15, even 10 minutes. There's a huge difference there. So my hat and salute is to you 100%. Yeah.
Very difficult. So, I do some in Tai Chi and I think, wow, that's really hard.
Yeah, I find it difficult. I feel it's almost too revealing for me. So I get stuck in the head sometimes. So anyway, any more questions?
Any more questions, audience? Last opportunity.
Comments? How wonderful this program is.
Absolutely. Fantastic.
Okay, good.
Well, thank you very much for asking us to do this. We're quite honored, and it was really nice to make the connection with both of you. And thank you so much.
Yes,
We do have a comment saying awesome.
Great.
I agree. And you should probably teach a class in choreography. There you go. I'm just saying.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
We'll add that to the list of things to do.
And I've got ideas for you because I used to teach a class in choreography, even though I don't choreograph, but I got great ideas if you need help.
There's a message from Kiyomi. Hi, Kiyomi. We love you. Kiyomi came here 20 years ago, I think,
Oh.
probably. Yeah. Yeah.
Nice. And she dances with you, she studies with you?
Oh, she's just on the Zoom. She's on the Zoom.
Oh,
Former student. Yeah.
perfect. Oh, nice. Okay, good. Okay, well, I'm going to close up and get myself something cold to drink and
Great.
something to eat.
That's
Thank you both so much. And thank you, Hillary, as always.
Thank you. Thank you so
Thank you.
much. That was a wonderful program.
Yes, it was great.
Thank
Okay.
you. Yeah. I'm
Thank
staying.
you, everyone.
Yes. Stay in
Okay.
touch.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, thank you.